Hey y'all, I'm I-78. We are back again with more coverage from the campaign trail. Today we actually have an address by our current president, Joe Biden. He is going to be giving a commemorative speech to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. Yeah, y'all, I'm serious. Jim Crow Joe is going to say something positive about the Civil Rights Act. So we are going to take a look and see what Joe talking about. And he should be on in just a second. Hey Eric, how you doing? Appreciate you stopping by.
All right. So no one at the podium, but I just wanted to just share that ambiance with you at this event happening now in Pennsylvania. Again, we are expecting both the governors from Pennsylvania and Michigan to be speaking at this campaign rally for Vice President Harris. She will not be there, we understand, as she is set to perhaps attend elsewhere. Meanwhile, we do have some other live events that we are continuing to follow. I wanted to show you this live look right here as President Biden, as you can see right there, has now landed in Austin, Texas. And President Biden landing on Air Force One just moments ago. He is expected to deliver remarks and commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act during a visit to the LBJ Presidential Library in Austin, Texas. And then he will head over to Houston, Texas, where he will pay his respects to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. And I did want to share this live look with you right here, as this is out of Houston's City Hall, where the late Congresswoman is now lying in state. And you can see a number of individuals right there paying their respects. She will lie in state at Houston City Hall from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time. President Biden will be among those to pay their respects to Lee, who died on July 19th after a battle with pancreatic cancer. And the live event that you're taking a look at is open to the public. We are also expecting Vice President Harris to attend her funeral, but really just hundreds of people pouring in to pay their respects to the late Congresswoman today. As you can see, her casket now wrapped in the American flag, and the longtime Congresswoman, just the second person ever to lie in state at Houston City Hall. That is the rotunda right there. We will be delivering President Biden's remarks live as they happen, both out of Austin, Texas, as well as Houston, Texas. And you can count on Live Now from Fox for all that coverage. Meantime, we are going to step away for another 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. I'm Stephanie Quinu, and we do appreciate you making us part of your Monday time right now, coming up on 4:23 Eastern, 1:23 Pacific. We're going to be right back after the break. My colleague Andy Mack is going to be in the hot seat to guide you through a number of hours of live events, top stories, and headlines. Stay with us.
Thank you much, man. Let's got to see what Joe talking about. Let's got to see. We got to see, because y'all, it's been an interesting week. I'm gonna say that. It's been an interesting week. This whole democratic, non-democratic process of having Kamala be the nominee for the Democratic Party, and all the black people that have decided we are going to put common sense in policy and procedure in, making sure we're in the best position possible, both as individuals and in the country, to the side. And we're just gonna vote for her because she's black, even though she really ain't black. Yeah. And now we got a pissing contest between the black women and the black men as to who can raise the most money for this shit. Meanwhile, she ain't promised y'all nothing. Now, I'm gonna say this. I have been covering this on both sides for informational purposes, so that people can have the information and they can use that information to make the, you know what I'm saying, best decision for them. I'm not trying to convince you one way or the other. The information is here. Do with it what you want. You just can't sit out and embrace it. Leave it at that. But yeah, we as Black people, and I say this because this is a Black centric channel, because I am a Black woman. We don't learn. We never learn. We do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and then sit around and cry about why we're not getting any results. Y'all didn't learn from the whole we gonna vote for Barack because he Black, even though he wasn't. And then at the end of the 8 years crying about how he didn't do anything for you, but then you're gonna turn around and do it again. We'll come out. Y'all need to quit playing. First off, can y'all find some real Black folks to go hard for? Can we start there? Can we find some for real, shown up? We can verify your great-grandparents or your great-great-grandparents was somewhere picking cotton in the midst of slavery. Can we do that? Can we find some of them? Then y'all can start talking about, you know what I'm saying, they Black. Let's see what's going on.
Come for it, and we're already hearing reaction, even though we really haven't seen the proposal yet, including from Speaker Mike Johnson saying Biden's proposal to radically overhaul the U.S. Supreme Court would tilt the balance of power and erode not only the rule of law, but the American people's faith in our system of justice. He goes on to say this proposal is the logical conclusion to the Biden-Harris administration and congressional Democrats' ongoing efforts to delegitimize the Supreme Court. Their calls to expand and pack the court will soon resume. It is telling that Democrats want to change the system that has guided our nation since its founding simply because they disagree with some of the court's recent decisions. This dangerous gambit of the Biden-Harris administration is dead on arrival in the House. So that is certainly the quote that was going to get a lot of headlines, dead on arrival, once it does reach the House about this new Supreme Court reform proposal. And we're also hearing from President Biden, asked by reporters on the tarmac there in Austin, Texas, before a press conference a little bit later on. Let's take you out to some of these quick comments here on Live Now from Fox. And of course, the image is a little bit pixelated, but you can listen in to some of these remarks from Biden answering questions from reporters.
Court reform is dead on arrival. What's your reaction, sir? Speaker Johnson said it's dead on arrival. And he is? How are you going to get this going? How are you going to get this done?
He's not.
Everything I've ever classed yesterday. How you feel, Vice President Harris, doing, Mr. President?
All right, it's pretty difficult to make out what he said
right
there, but resolute in his endeavor to try to get this one through, talking about this reform, this proposal about Supreme Court and that reform. So we're following it here live on Live Now from Fox. We spoke to a constitutional law professor yesterday as he discussed it, that he didn't see it going too far just based on a lot of different factors. Its movement in Congress, the enforceability of it, potentially very difficult to kind of talk about as well. So we're following all of this here on Live Now from Fox very, very closely. All right, let's give you a couple other Live Now looks, including there in Pennsylvania and outside of Philadelphia. We're expecting to hear from Governors Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. But I also see right now on the Senate floor, Chuck Schumer making some remarks. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
Selected and then used nefariously. And sadly, too many families have lost kids because of what happened to them on social media. I've met with many of the families whose children took their own lives. We felt the pain of loss together. We've cried together. What they have gone through is impossible to imagine. Losing a child, and in this way, but these families, to their everlasting credit, instead of cursing the darkness, they lit a candle. They turned their grief into grace by working so hard to make sure this doesn't happen to other kids what happened to theirs. I thank all of the families who advocate to get kids' online safety over the finish line. Their efforts will pay off tomorrow, and I also want to thank colleagues who have relentlessly championed these bills. Senators Blumenthal and Blackburn, Markey and Cassidy, Durbin and Klobuchar, Chair Cantwell, and others. Getting to this point wasn't easy, that's for sure. It's been a long and winding and difficult road. But after tomorrow, I'm very proud it will have all been worth it. Now on SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States. No democracy can hope to survive if it can't ensure accountability. That's a hallmark of a democracy and American democracy in particular. This was the stern warning handed down to us by the framers of the Constitution. Accountability is how power is checked, how consent to the governed is secured, and how trust between the people and their institutions is preserved. Later today, President Biden will speak at the LBJ Presidential Library on the need for accountability for the U.S. Supreme Court, where it is desperately needed. The president published an op-ed in the Washington Post outlining his ideas, and will expand on them this evening. I believe the president is right to say aloud what many Americans already think. The Supreme Court is a morass. I'm particularly pleased President Biden called for undoing the damage of the court's recent immunity decision. I think Congress should pursue the idea through legislation. I'm working with my colleagues on the best way to proceed. A few years ago, the Supreme Court was easily the most trusted institution in government. But today, confidence in the courts is at an all-time low. For over a year, Americans have learned how some justices have accepted millions of dollars in lavish gifts from right-wing benefactors that at the same time had business before the court. They were funding these groups to pursue their right-wing agenda before the court. And all of this happened in total secrecy and possibly in violation of the law. And at the same time, the MAGA justices have rammed through a flurry of hard right decisions, reversing decades of precedent. They almost seem to ignore it from time to time when they want to. On reproductive freedoms, on affirmative action, on gerrymandering, on administrative law, and so much more. These decisions on choice and so many other issues are way out of the mainstream. Then 1 month ago, the MAGA justices ruled that the President of the United States is in essence above the law when it comes to his official acts. The conservative majority's ruling was the very antithesis of the kind of accountability our framers envisioned. The MAGA court more or less echoed Richard Nixon's infamous view that, quote, when the president does it, that means it's not illegal. These fringe rulings and ethical scandals are not the signs of a healthy Supreme Court. They are the signs of a court run amok. The good news is that the Constitution provides a remedy to the Supreme Court's current morass. Congress has the authority to exercise strong checks on the judiciary through legislation. And Congress has the authority to speak on constitutional issues. The Constitution is clear. The Supreme Court does not get the final word. An option I am seriously considering is drawing up legislation clarifying that the president is not immune from violations of federal law. One of the justices recently claimed there's no provision in the Constitution that gives Congress authority to regulate the courts. I respectfully suggest that this justice reread the Constitution because it's plain as day that Congress is well within its rights.
We can't talk about the Constitution.
To conduct oversight.
Constitution.
Accountability shouldn't be a dirty word when we talk about the Supreme Court. Americans across the ideological spectrum agree that checks and balances are necessary for our system to thrive. And they agree those checks should apply to the Supreme Court just as they apply to other branches of government. It's no wonder the court's positive ratings are at an all-time low. If they can't straighten it out themselves, Congress should. Now, on the Iowa abortion ban project and Project 2025. This morning, over 1.5 million women across Iowa woke up with fewer rights than they had just last night. Today, a draconian new law went into effect in Iowa banning abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy, before many women even know they are pregnant.
Now I'll give you that.
Iowa's new abortion law is radical, it's dangerous, and sadly, it's another example of the hard right taking America back in time through the courts. By now, it's beyond debate that attacking reproductive freedoms is a fundamental tenet of the GOP. Not 3 days ago, Donald Trump gave a speech where he bragged yet again about overturning Roe. He said, quote, "We really did something nobody thought was possible. I want to thank the 6 Supreme Court justices for the wisdom and courage they showed," unquote. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Donald Trump wants to thank the 6 Supreme Court justices for the courage of overturning Roe. What a callous message to send to women in states like Iowa, in states like Florida, in states like Arizona and Texas, and others where freedom of choice is under assault. Of course, Donald Trump brags about overturning Roe all the time. A few months ago, Donald Trump said he was also, quote, proud, unquote, to be the one to have cleared the way for overturning Roe. And he said, quote, "Nobody else was going to get that done but me." America, when Republicans try to sound moderate on choice, they know where the public is. They know where women are. Remember the words of Donald Trump, who said he was proud to eliminate Roe. Remember the votes of the Republican senators knowingly voting for justice nominees who were way to the right and who in their hearings said that they would overturn Roe, or very much alluded to that fact. Now, of course, Donald Trump didn't reverse Roe alone. As I said, he had plenty of help from Senate Republicans who confirmed 3 MAGA extremists to the bench, all of whom ruled in favor of reversing Roe. And just a few weeks ago, when Republicans were given a chance to do the right thing on reproductive freedoms, they doubled down on their anti-woman views by blocking a bill expressing support for a woman's right to choose. Last month, Senate Republicans even opposed protections for IVF and contraceptives. Can you imagine? They voted against protections for IVF and contraception. The Republican credo might as well be your body, our choice. And let's not kid ourselves. This is just the beginning as far as Republicans are concerned. Republicans like the junior senator from Ohio are on the record saying, quote, I would certainly like abortion to be illegal nationally. That's the Republican nominee for vice president. I would certainly like abortion to be illegal nationally. Let me repeat it again. I would certainly like abortion to be illegal nationally. And this isn't a view that was dug up from way in the past. This was a statement in 2022. Again, let me say to Americans, when Republicans try to sound moderate on choice, remember the words of Donald Trump. Remember the words of the Republican senator, the junior Republican senator from Ohio, now the vice presidential nominee on the Republican.
No, I don't feel. I know this is pointless. Yeah, they're not gonna change how the Supreme Court works. They're not gonna change how people are appointed to the Supreme Court. My thing is this right here. No, none of this was a conversation until something happened that wasn't in your favor. Well, look, we came to see what our president had to say, so that's what we're gonna go with. We're gonna get over here to NBC and get this live information. Because child, I'm not folks sitting around trying to be damn butthurt. Because y'all talking out of both sides of your mouth. And one clip you want to holler them the democratic process, and we need to change this and we need to change that. Then on the next hand, we gonna do the same shit that we say the other side doing, but it's for our benefit. Like y'all need to get for real. Get aside and stick to it. You either about the democratic process or you damn not. This ain't hard. It ain't hard. It's just like, man, they should be coming along in a minute. But meanwhile, I am going to look up this proposal by the president to overhaul the selection and confirmation process to the Supreme Court, and we'll have a conversation. But yeah, we can't be talking about all this democracy and all that, and then doing everything but that. That's just not how that is. Yeah, call it clean across the board, or shut it down. That's how we roll. But to everyone, I do appreciate y'all coming through. Definitely make sure you hit the like button. Make sure your notifications are on so that you don't miss any more. Definitely feel free to participate in the conversation via chat. Definitely get all of that done. And hopefully they'll be on in a minute. So we can go ahead and hear about Joe, honey, our president, and see if he'll be able to keep it together for this speech. I'm trying to see if I can find the days already. Oh, here. Y'all folks are feeling some kind of way about this opening ceremony for these Olympics. How y'all feeling about that? Y'all think it was a bit too much, or was it right on target with where we are as a world right now? You know what? Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. Okay, see, okay, Alex, I'm with you. Yeah, look at you. Yeah, that is, but yeah, exactly. I mean, we talking. It's in Paris, France. I mean, what the hell y'all really think y'all was gonna see over there? Like, why we acting like we so shocked? But again, this is what folk been pushing since the beginning. Hi Kim, how are you? So my question right now, while we're waiting for our president, is there's been some recent outrage, and I'll use that term loosely, over the opening ceremony of the Olympics with the drag queens in the depiction of the last song. And my question was, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it was over the top, or do you think it's right on par with where we are as a world right now? You said Olympics was the disgrace, worst opening ceremony ever. Okay, it's too gay. Okay. Mm. Okay, they still be yakking in Congress. I mean, y'all feeling it. That's all I got for this. Hi Tia. Yeah, that was not the last supper. What was it? You say Kim, that's where we are. Okay. Facts. Hi Pepe. I dropped my kids off at drag queen story time, much cheaper than the babysitter. Okay. Just to take over Kim. Okay. I feel it was out of order. Greek wedding feast. Oh, okay. I'm saying let us know, because that's what I'm saying. Folks who got the outrage going, they saying it was the Last Supper, and they appreciate the drag queens being up there, and so forth and so on. So y'all let me know. Painting the depicts the Last Supper. Mm-hmm. There was 20 folks who was not feeling it. Not feeling it at all. I said the devil. Okay. Thank you for letting us know.
Irresponsible for the majority leader to come here. I guess he's caught up in the fervor of the November the 5th election, having established a political coup and replacing the sitting president with the vice president without going through the democratic
that ain't
process
democracy none at all. Hold up,
elections.
y'all.
He's feeling his oats and perhaps cannot restrain himself. But it's clear that our Democratic colleagues don't like the Constitution and they want to change it. But they know they can't do that because there's not the support across the country or in Congress to do that. So
cool.
He uses this as a political cudgel in the run-up to the election. It's irresponsible, and unfortunately, I think it reflects the desperation with which the majority leader views this upcoming election on November the 5th. Madam President, America's southern border has been in a state of crisis for the last 3.5 years, and our country is desperate for a change in direction. They know that the millions of people coming across, the drugs that have taken the lives of 108,000 Americans last year alone, the crime, the potential vulnerability to terrorist attacks, they are not happy with the status quo, which is what the Biden and Harris administration have provided us for the last 3.5 years. Throughout his time in office, President Biden has shown zero interest in stopping the flood of illegal immigration across our border. He's only visited the border once, and I doubt he will make another trip to the border during the remainder of his term in office. But of course, I don't think he actually talked to the people who could have best informed him of what the problem was created by his very policies. His policies have made it worse, not better, certainly worse than it was under the Trump administration. President Biden is in Texas today. He's in Austin, Texas, and then he will go to Houston, but I doubt he will bother to make a quick trip to the border because the message he is saying
ain't nothing happening at the border. They ain't got to damn sneak till they're going to get them.
He doesn't care
you
about
got to sneak when you
the migrants that are swarming into our major cities like New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago.
At the border. That's why ain't nobody over there.
And the burdens those have placed on local taxpayers about the crime that is associated with the fact that uncontrolled, you don't know who is coming across the border. Admittedly, most migrants are coming here for work, for better life, but the criminal cartels who continue to get rich smuggling people to the border from all around the world also are the ones that smuggle the drugs to the border only to be distributed to kill our sons and daughters who inadvertently take fentanyl, presuming it to be some innocuous drug like a Percocet or a Xanax, only to find out it's a counterfeit pill contaminated by a powerful opioid, fentanyl. Well, what does a potential Harris administration look like? Does it mean more of the same when it comes to the border and immigration policies? Would it signal a new direction? And if so, what would that direction be? Well, the truth is, we already know the answers to those questions. We don't have to wonder about Vice President Harris's policies because she has played a starring role in the current Biden border crisis. These are, after all, Biden-Harris policies. Just a couple of months into President Biden's presidency,
illegal border crossings surged as a direct result of the policies that he and Vice President Harris implemented starting the first day in office, mainly by dismantling piece by piece the effective policies of the Trump administration. But it became clear that the situation at the border was veering in a dangerous direction, at least in terms of the politics, to President Biden. So he tapped the vice president as the administration's border czar.
Okay.
That's what the headline from Axios, a political publication, heralded.
We get it. We get it. We get it. We get it. Y'all, these are catchphrases they coming up with and just be beating to death. Like, listen, hold up. Okay, now we got some action. Joe might be hearing say something. We gonna bring the immigrants over. It turned for us bringing them. They gonna be so grateful that they gonna vote for. You'll say vote for us. That shit ain't never really worked. If you really look at it never really works. Usually, people come and acclimate and become productive for most of the time. But productive citizens and all that, and they turn around and vote with us. And I've seen it with my own eyes. This is not speculation. I've seen it with my own eyes. When barely no niggas talking about what Trump. So I mean, I don't know where they came up with this, but this ain't really how it worked. It didn't work. Immigrants want a better life, documented and undocumented, committed far fewer crimes than Americans born here. They don't want to be deported. So most of them know they ain't gonna be deported no matter what they do. Now, it is a group of these immigrants cutting straight up food, a straight up food. But granted, it's Americans cutting up food too. But I mean, you can't really get deported if you born here. Hey Tom, how you doing? But yeah, it's stuck on both sides cutting food. But I mean, that deportation has never been on some Speedy Gonzalez type of time anyway. When they get legal, okay. Well, I mean, we got a far greater number of those who are not getting legal than those who are getting legal. You gotta work on being on time. Something supposed to start at 4:30. It's 5 o'clock and we ain't even here yet. Okay, Eric said immigrants just need to process the legal way. I agree, and that goes for all of them. We ain't just talking about what we're saying, Hispanics, or anything on that. All of them. Just other ones that come up that wrong. We just singling them out. They just seem to get the most attention. They have the greatest variance level. They either be straight or they be a complete ass man. They be hard working, productive citizens. They be entertaining. No, I have not. But while we got some time, we have to do that. What you see here, Let's see. America has lost a million people for C-19 and 1,000 farms went bankrupt. So yeah, America, we're gonna have to be big on farming in a minute. So I mean that sector is bringing trouble quite a lot. So yeah, definitely after C-19, they definitely need some help. What's going on, son? How you been? How's the family? You see you peeling around waiting for the things you started. I see this. Mm-mm. What tears? Yeah. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, we might be getting some.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Updegrove, the President and CEO of the LBJ Foundation. Welcome to our commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And thank you, a huge thank you to the Houston Tillotson Choir, to Ruthie Foster, and to Brian Cranston for introducing this in such a grand manner. The walls of the LBJ Auditorium once again echo with history and voices from the past. 8 years after speaking to Americans in advance of signing the Civil Rights Act, which made real our nation's most sacred promise of all men are created equal, Lyndon Johnson stood on this stage as a former president and delivered his last public remarks. Battling a weak heart, President Johnson defied doctors' orders to give a keynote address at a civil rights symposium he had convened to talk about the state of race in America. He had something to say, and he was determined to say it. Until we overcome unequal history, he declared, we can't overcome unequal opportunity. There is work still to be done, so let's be on with it. The work would fall to others. The following month, our 36th president died of a heart attack at his beloved LBJ ranch. But even now, half a century later, we hear his call. Since then, 4 other presidents, including the first African-American president, have graced this stage to recognize the advancement of civil rights and to talk about the work still to be done. Today, we are deeply honored to welcome the 46th president, Joe Biden, who has made the central cause of his presidency the preservation and strengthening of democracy and has pursued a policy of equity for all, including people of color and others who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality.
We're talking about people of color.
Among the many things he has done is to appoint the first Black woman, Ketanji Brown Jackson, to the U.S. Supreme Court. And to choose as his running mate, Kamala Harris, the first Black woman, South Asian American to hold the vice president, but you already knew that.
She ain't Black.
We are grateful to President Biden for his policy to bolster voting rights, which have been severely weakened since Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act in 1965, and for all of his efforts to return our nation to the democratic norms and values that provide ballast to our great republic. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." America is at its strongest when justice prevails, and when the winds of change make our country more united, more inclusive, more righteous. The Civil Rights Act we commemorate today, as well as the Voting Rights Act and Fair Housing Act, all championed and signed by Lyndon Johnson, are on exhibition in the LBJ Library's Great Hall just above us. Those transformative laws are surrounded by iconic photographs of the activists who held the front lines of the civil rights movement and whose unyielding fearlessness in the face of racial tyranny helped bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice and a more perfect union. Among them is Andrew Young, who stood by the side of Martin Luther King Jr. as a lieutenant in the movement they forged as much as any. Upon awarding Ambassador Young the Medal of Freedom, President Jimmy Carter said, "Andy Young is the brightest star in the American firmament. He's a man who represents integrity and understanding, humility and purpose. He has carried on well the heritage of Martin Luther King." To introduce the President of the United States, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ambassador Andrew Young.
Hey, Adrian, how you doing? Can we hear nothing? What you say, sir?
That I was lined up waiting to be sworn in for Congress. And there was another little fella in the Senate who was too young to get in. They had to wait 3 or 4 days till he turned 30 to swear him in as a United States Senator.
MC, what's going on?
For the last 50 years, he has devoted himself to fulfilling the dreams of the American people, all of them, rich, poor, black, white, red, green, gay, straight, whatever we are. And I'm here reminding you that if you live long enough, all of us are going to be handicapped one day. But few people have been able to thrive and succeed in the midst of so much pressure and tension and responsibility as Joe Biden. And I was thinking what I should say, and I said that maybe Ray Charles said it best when he started his recording of America the Beautiful with the third verse of that song. And it said, "Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, To all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. I think that is a promise fulfilled in the life of the 46th President of the United States, Joseph Biden. Mr. President.
Now the war is not over, victory isn't won, but we'll fight on to the finish. Then it's all right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really. Thank you. Please. Please. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Mr. Ambassador, thanks for that introduction, and above all, for your friendship over the years. There's literally one word that comes to mind every time I think of Andy Young. The word's integrity, absolute integrity. And thank you to the Johnson family for carrying forward the legacy of a truly great president and first lady. Your mom was incredible as well. The same goes to Mark Upgrove, president of the LBJ Foundation. It's great to be back here. I thank you all and distinguished guests gathered here today. Look, I was in college at the University of Delaware in my early beginning years when I heard the news of that President Kennedy had been assassinated. I remember exactly like anybody in my generation remembers exactly where they were sitting, standing, or walking. I was on the steps of one of the university halls called Hullion Hall at the university, listening on a transistor radio with 3 other people. Seemed unbelievable. And then later watching President Johnson help the nation find a way forward. In his first address after the tragedy, President Johnson said, and I quote, "Nothing could more eloquently honor President Kennedy's memory than the earliest passage of the Civil Rights Bill." That's what he said. As a kid coming up, I always admired President Johnson for his public service, whether it was a school teacher in South Texas, master of the United States Senate, historic vice president and president. His philosophy was simple. In a great society, no one should be left behind. He'd say, it's time for us to come to see that every American gets a decent break and a fair chance to make good. And as Andy Young said, President Johnson met repeatedly with the civil rights leaders and built a coalition to bring that vision to life. And he did, he brought it to life. Over 50 years, the LBJ Foundation has convened this symposium to reflect one of the crowning achievements, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a defining moment that has since opened doors of opportunities for all Americans, regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, national origin. Together with the Voting Rights Act and the Fair Housing Act, these 3 landmark laws he signed are remarkable in their scale and their scope. Taken together, these 3 acts have made this nation fundamentally more fair, fundamentally more just, and most importantly, fundamentally more consistent with our founding principles. For real. And we're a better nation because of them. We must be clear.
Their work, our work, is not done. It's not done. We do not celebrate these laws as part of our past, but as critical components of our future. President Johnson understood what President Lincoln understood in his own time, that the courts would determine the scale and scope of our laws. Over 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, President Johnson vowed, in his words, to do this job that Lincoln started, by challenging the court to live up to its constitutional responsibility. He did that by nominating Thurgood Marshall as the first Black justice of the Supreme Court. And by aggressively defending civil rights throughout the courts. But now, we live in a different era. In recent years, extreme opinions that the Supreme Court has handed down have undermined long-established civil rights principles and protections. In 2013, the Supreme Court in Shelby County case gutted the Voting Rights Act, opening the floodgates to a wave of restrictive voting laws that have seen states across the country pass. In 2022, the court overruled Roe v. Wade and the right to choose that had been the law of the land for 50 years. 50 years. The following year, the same court eviscerated affirmative action, which had been upheld and reaffirmed for nearly 50 years as well. And now, there's an extreme movement and agenda called Project 2025. Well, by the way, they're serious, man. They're planning another onslaught attacking civil rights in America. For example, Project 2025 calls aggressively attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion all across all aspects of American life. This extreme MAGA movement even proposes to end birthright citizenship. That's how far they've come. End birthright citizenship, which if you're born in America, you're an American citizen. That's how extreme these guys are. This issue and so many other civil rights that Americans take for granted are likely to come before the court in the years to come. And most recently and most shockingly, the Supreme Court established in Trump versus the United States a dangerous precedent. They ruled, as you know, that the President of the United States has immunity for potential crimes he may have committed while in office. Immunity. This nation was founded on the principle there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. And for all practical purposes, the court's decision almost certainly means that the president can violate their oath, flout our laws, and face no consequences. Here's what Justice Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice, wrote in her dissent. I quote, "Under the majority's reasoning, the president now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders a Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. Immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power. Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for pardon. Immune. In every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law." Just what Justice Sotomayor wrote in her dissent. Folks, just imagine what a president could do in trampling civil rights and liberties given such immunity. The court's being used to weaponize an extreme and unchecked agenda. This decision is a total affront to the basic expectations we have for those who wield the power in this nation, that they are expected to be wholly accountable under the law. The president is no longer constrained by the law, and only limits on abuse of power will be self-imposed by the president alone. That's a fundamentally flawed view and a fundamentally flawed principle, a dangerous principle. On top of its extreme decisions, the court is mired in a crisis of ethics. These scandals involving the justices have caused public opinion to question the court's fairness and independence. They're essential to faithfully carrying out its mission of equal justice under the law. For example, there are documented reports of a decades-long effort to reshape the judiciary, including the Supreme Court backed by shadow special interests that also support Project 2025. Undisclosed gift to justice is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars from wealthy benefactors who have interest before the very court they're contributing to. Conflicts of interest from those connected to January 6th insurrectionists. And a blatant attack on nominating and confirming justices of the court itself. Do you all remember when Justice Scalia died in February of 2016? And the Republicans blocked the president's nomination, President Obama's nomination, to fill that vacancy for nearly a year by making up an entirely new standard that there be no confirmations of the court during an election year. But then, when Justice Ginsburg died in 2020, Republicans rushed through the President Trump's nominee at the very same time votes are being cast in an election that Trump would lose. It's outrageous. I know I don't look it, but I served in the Senate for 36 years, including as chairman and ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. I've been told that I've overseen more Supreme Court nominations as senator, vice president, and president than anyone in history, anyone alive today, I should say. I have great respect for our institutions and the separation of powers laid out in our Constitution. But what's happening now is not consistent with that doctrine of separation of powers. Extremism is undermining the public confidence in the court's decisions. As soon as I came to office, I convened a bipartisan presidential commission on the Supreme Court of the United States, comprised of leading constitutional scholars, both liberal and conservative, to provide recommendations on potential reforms to the court. I've been careful in these deliberations because these are serious, serious decisions. In the face of increasing threats to American democratic institutions, I use the Commission's analysis, and today I'm calling for 3 bold reforms to restore trust and accountability to the court and our democracy. As the press shouted to me as I got off Air Force One, the Republican Speaker of the House said, whatever he proposes is dead on arrival. Well, I think his thinking is dead on arrival. First, I'm calling for a constitutional amendment called No One is Above the Law Amendment. It holds, and I mean this sincerely, it holds that there's no immunity for crimes former president committed while in office. I share our founders' belief that the president must answer to the law. The president is accountable in the exercise of the great power of the presidency.
That means you about to be held accountable.
We're a nation of laws, not kings and dictators. The decision can be boiled down to the title of one case, Trump versus the United States. The court asserted it was making a ruling for the ages. That isn't true. The court made a ruling for one, a former president. No other president in our history has asked for this kind of immunity for criminal actions. And no president, no former president, not me, not one, has and should have been given any exception to this with such immunity. The second thing I'm asking for, we've had term limits for presidents of the United States for nearly 75 years after the Truman administration. And I believe we should have term limits for Supreme Court justices of the United States as well. In fact, the United States is the only major constitutional democracy that gives lifetime seats in their high court. Term limits would help ensure that the court membership changes with some regularity. That would make timing for the court's nomination more predictable and less arbitrary. Reduce the chance that any single presidency imposes undue influence in generations to come. The bipartisan commission I convened analyzed various term limit structures. Based on their report, I believe the best structure is the 18-year term limit. That would help ensure the country would not have what it has now. An extreme court that's proud of an attack on the confirmation process that's been weaponized by those seeking to carry out an extreme agenda for decades to come. By the way, these guys mean it. These guys mean it. Project 2025 is real. They mean it. Third, I'm calling for a binding code of conduct for the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's current ethics code is weak and even more frightening, voluntary.
So why don't you come up with this at the beginning?
Any code of Congress must be enforceable. Under the reform I propose, justice would be required to disclose gifts, refrain from public political activity, recuse themselves in cases in which they or their spouses have a financial or other conflict of interest. Most people don't realize that Congress passed a law decades ago that says all federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, have to recuse themselves in such cases. But the current justices insist on enforcing that requirement themselves without any public oversight or compulsion. See, that's their decision. They don't have to tell us how they made it. That might work if the court was actually enforcing those requirements, but they are not. The court is not self-policing. The court is not dealing with the obvious conflicts of interest. We need a mandatory code of ethics for the Supreme Court, and we need it now. My fellow Americans, based on all my experience, I'm certain we need these reforms. We need these reforms to restore trust in the courts, preserve the system of checks and balances that are vital to our democracy. They're also common sense reforms that a vast majority of the American people support, as well as leading constitutional law scholars, progressives, and conservatives. I look forward to working with the Congress to implement these necessary reforms. A number of members of Congress are here today. Let me close with this. President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 just 2 days before the 4th of July. He said in that bill signing, and I quote, "This is a proud triumph, yet those who founded our country knew the freedom would be secure only if each generation fought to renew in largest meaning," end of quote. That's what I've tried to do throughout my career, inspired by the cause of civil rights. That's what got me involved initially. My state was a state that was segregated by law. We were one who, only reason we didn't fight in the side of the South, we couldn't get there. I'm serious. What motivated me to be a public defender, a county councilman, I'll never forget, I had a good job with a big trial firm. And in Delaware, you have to study for the bar for 6 months before you're allowed to take it. And in the meantime, I was studying for the bar. That's when Dr. King was assassinated. We're the only state in the nation, city in the nation, that had the military stationed on every corner with drawn bayonets for 10 months, insisting, because we had a very conservative Democratic governor. In those days, when the Democrats won, they could choose to be part of the Southern Governors or Northeast Governors Conference. They choose the Southern Governors Conference lots of times. But guess what? It got me engaged. I love how reading these biographies of me now that I knew I was going to run for president. I remember walking in to the public defender's office, which was part-time at the time, and asking for an application because I wanted to join the public defender's office. And he looked at me, his name is Franny Kearns, he said, "Don't you work for Pickett Warburton Sanders?" I said, "Yeah." So why the hell would you want to do this? Not a joke. But I said, "Let me do it." I became a public defender. Folks, here's the deal. Because I got engaged like a lot of you do, whether you run for office or not. You get engaged and you want to change things. So I kept trying to change the Democratic Party in my state, which is very conservative. And then a group of people came to me, as my senator knows, Chris Coons, came to me and said, "Look, we want you to run for state senate." I said, I can't go to Dover all the time. I'm just starting a law firm. I'm a part-time public defender. And then they came back to me and said, "Why don't you run for the county council?" I said, I can't. They said, "You stupid SOB, it's right across the street there." I'm serious. Meets only twice a week. So my sister, my best friend, managed my campaign. And we picked a district that we couldn't possibly win. No Democrat had ever won it. But my problem was I had my sister doing my campaign. And we won. Next thing I know, I was part of a group assigned as young senators, young elected officials, to try to bring the party around to get someone to run for the United States Senate. And I was put on a commission. When you're the young lawyer, you get to turn the lights on and off after every meeting. And so I remember going down to the Democratic convention off year in Dover, Delaware. And after the afternoon session, went back and I was in my room. There's a nice motel you just drive up to, get out, walk in your door there. And you know, an 8x10 bathroom, a shower, and a stall. And I had my towel around me and the shaving cream on my face, and I went bam, bam, bam at my door. And I thought it was the guys that came down with. The guy was had a talk show named Bob Cunningham, was a big civil rights guy, and two others. So I thought it was them. I walked, opened the door. There was a former governor, former Supreme Court justice, swear to God, the state chairman, and the former congressman. And they said, "We just had dinner." Well, I said, "I'm sorry, gentlemen." And I walked in, I ran in the bathroom, shake the shave grip, thinking I could put something on. There wasn't anything here. I walked back out with a towel. I'm standing against a nail, a desk nail to the wall, and they're on the beds that are nailed to the headboards are nailed to the wall. Four of us sitting across. I said, "Joe, we were thinking you should run for the United States Senate." I said, "Gentlemen, you serious?" And they went on and made their case. I hope all of you had a professor who's enlightened his mind. I had one professor named Dr. Ingersoll, my political philosophy professor at the University of Delaware, which is between Dover and where I was going home. So I called him, I could stop by and see him. And I said, "What do you think I should do?" He said, "Joe, remember what Plato said." I'm thinking, what the hell did Plato say? Seriously. So Plato said, "The penalty good people pay for not being involved in politics is being governed by people worse than themselves." I went home and spoke to my deceased wife. She said, "Look, Joe, you're working 40 hours a week trying to set up a law firm, and you're working 40 hours a week as a public defender. Get in or get out." Next thing you know, I was running. Nixon won my state by 60% of the vote. We won by a staggering 3,800 votes. My point is, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But look, and I went on to be able to I had to wait a little bit to be sworn in. You got to be 30 to be sworn in. And then I was the vice president, the first African-American president in American history. Now I'm president to our first woman vice president. I made clear how I feel about Kamala. She's been an incredible partner to me, a champion of civil rights throughout her career. And she'll continue to be an inspiring leader and project this very idea of America. The very idea that we're all created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to that, but we've never walked away from it. We've never walked away because leaders like Lyndon Baines Johnson, my fellow Americans, in 2 years we'll commemorate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That July 4th of 2026 will be a moment not only about our past, but about our future. Imagine that moment and ask yourself, what do we want to be? We can and must be protected and expand our civil rights in America. We can and must prevent the abuse of presidential power and restore faith in the Supreme Court. We can and must strengthen the guardrails of democracy.
Because they
We
did
must have to
something you
remind
don't like,
ourselves
now
who
we
we
don't
are.
have faith in this.
We're the United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing when we do it together. So let's stay together, and God bless you all. Lyndon Johnson, Lady Bird Johnson, may God bless the whole family. Ladies and gentlemen, may God protect our troops. Thank you for listening.
No. Ain't got time for all of that. Okay, y'all. So we have heard from our president, Joe Biden, basically that because of some recent rulings by our United States Supreme Court, because he is not in agreement with those rulings, we should just go ahead and throw the whole Supreme Court away and come up with something new. Is basically what I'm saying. Sir, let me be the first to let you know. That shit ain't happening. It is not going to happen. Just because you don't like it, and again, you've done a lot of shit I don't like, but am I telling anybody to throw you away? I am not. Nothing is going to be in your favor 100% of the time. That is an unrealistic expectation. What you saying, Eric? Some of the speech was bland. First of all, African Americans need human rights, not only civil rights. Well, first of all, African Americans. Let's see. This is where the foolishness started. When we started with this African American nonsense, we black, because Africans that was born over here in America is different from black people that's been over here in America. Yeah, speech was bland. It was. Africans who come over here, they come 2 steps ahead. They get a smidge more respect than your average everyday black man in South Carolina or Mississippi. They even look down on those type of people. So yeah. We quit worrying about the African Americans. We interested in black people. I need to be able to trace your ancestors. I mean your great grandparents or your great great grandparents. Some type of slavery that was going on here in America. Them are the ones I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about your daddy was African and immigrated over here. I don't want to talk about your daddy was from Jamaica or no bullshit like that. I don't want to hear none of that. You be able to trace your people to the boat. They're the folk I'm interested in. And if you're gonna be for real, we ain't had nobody and no type of within sneezing distance of that damn White House that can do either. So we ain't had no black people in the White House. Michelle, that's how good we gonna get. Michelle, she didn't have no. Let's just be for real. So, Joe, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Because you not feeling what was done. Now it's throw the whole thing away. But hell, your girl the one wrote the damn opinion. So the Mayor didn't nobody put her in. So let's back up. And again, if y'all didn't want Amy in, you should have stonewalled like they stonewalled y'all people. You had the same opportunity, the same tactics available. So stop fucking crying. This that spoiled milk shit. Because y'all couldn't figure out how to do what they did, and it was legal what they did. Now y'all pissed off and want to let's do. We gotta reshuffle the deck. Now the deck is shuffled. It's good. But you figured out how to circumvent a whole democratic process and come up with a new damn nominee after they forced your ass out, Joe. So please stop. Please stop all of this. It's foolish. Please stop. And who in Trump's camp said that they wrote Project 2025? Who said that? When I need some audio and some video perfectly together of Trump saying, yeah, I'm putting 2025 on the table. And then if you look at 2025, all of it ain't bad. Nothing is 100% bad. Like, let's get for real. What you say? Most of the continent of Africans that come to America came from well-to-do families. These are not poor brothers and sisters. This is why they get the extras. This is what I'm talking about. So yeah, again, I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear nothing. All this complaining and carrying on. And I'm going to say this for black people as a black person. Y'all spend too much time looking for excuses as to why you can't get shit done. Now, I'm not saying that the Republican Party is where you need to be. Because, again, you have to make that decision for your own. But, again, if you're not just going to get it off the rip like the rest of the people, would you rather be in a position where you can go get it and people not keep it from you, then just sit around and take these bullshit handouts and then wonder why you ain't got nothing? Some of some damn generational wealth. Y'all need to go sit down. Generational wealth starts from generational wealth. So the world ain't even set up like that no more for no DuPonts and Rockefellers and all that and Elon Musk and all that kind of shit. The world ain't even set up for all of that no more. So if that's what y'all sitting around waiting on, y'all might as well go ahead and go sleep. What's going on? Keep climbing 23. Exactly. But this is the thing. She not even good. The only thing she gonna get out, even if she was to win, because she's still not gonna win. And y'all, let's be for real about that. If every black person voted for her, it still ain't enough black people to counteract Caucasians, Asians, Latinos, Mexicans, and all the rest of the motherfuckers. We ain't got enough people to counteract all that. She ain't winning. And again, why would you get behind somebody who has not promised you anything? She been talking the whole week. What has she said she gonna do for the people? All she does talk about how she different from Trump. And I ain't just talking about black people. What has she said she was gonna do for the people? Period. Because I don't need an abortion. I don't need no contraception. I got no sister to know if I'm out here fucking, then I'm probably gonna get pregnant. So I'm gonna need to come to terms with it one way or the other. Either come to terms with, yeah, I ain't trying to have no kids, or come to terms with, yeah, I'm probably gonna be knocked up. Listen, that ain't hard. So this just sitting around running on abortion, that ain't doing it for me because I don't need that. I don't need that. And that's all she want to talk about. What you said, if Kamala were to win, it's going to change nothing. It's probably going to, of course, it's going to get worse. Again, I just don't understand why. I'm not saying. I'm just saying you have been promised nothing. Because and then this rhetoric of if Trump is president again, the world gonna end. Did it end the first damn time? Because last time I checked, y'all black women, since y'all out here ponying up all this damn money, y'all was the ones been getting evicted. Shit, getting evicted at a damn 4-to-1 rate than anybody else. Last time I checked, Trump ain't president. And y'all have to wait to stay messing around with Trump. Exactly. She's gonna do exactly what these folks want her to do. Because I mean, I'm gonna have to get with my girl Michonne because we need that clip where she's like, "You think I'm gonna sit around and do something especially for black people?" She's like, "Yeah, no, let's be clear, I'm not doing it." But what else do y'all need to hear? Just let me know. Let me know if I'm off base. So, I mean, that's what we're here for information. Just let me know. Right now, I ain't seeing it. And black people, how long y'all gonna let folks play in y'all face? Now, word on the street been for the last 3 damn decades that Joe don't like black people. Now Joe supposedly don't like black people, but every time I turn around, he placating y'all and all up in the damn Civil Rights Museum and all that bullshit. But you know he don't like you. So why y'all keep calling him? He finna help you do shit. He ain't helped you do nothing. I'm just saying. If y'all want to roll over to Trump, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Trump hasn't done anything specifically for black people, but he never told you he would. But then on flip, he never said he was gonna do anything from keep you from getting your piece of the American pie. What has he done to keep you from getting what getting what you work for? See, the problem is y'all don't want to work. When you say keep climbing, CNN fact checked her on that Project 2025 statement, and one of her campaign folks admitted that they use it as a tactic because it sticks with the voters, so they can say, right, lies. Now my thing is, if you have something to say and you are that confident that what you bring to the table is worth it, you ain't got to lie. Tell the truth. Because again, what has she said she was going to do for anybody? For those of y'all who have been watching my channel, I broadcast every single night of the Republican National Convention. They told us what they're going to do. So we gonna see. So you know what, being better off financially is good for everybody, and we was that part right there. I know I was listening, and since everybody want to talk about, you know what I'm saying, the president inherits the economy and all of that. So I mean, things was a little shaky under Clinton. Was phenomenal. I had money everywhere. I had money I forgot about messing around with Bill. Bush started off a little rough, but it got better. It was all right. Obama, he was in 8 years? I spent 5 of them 8 years either unemployed or working a temp job. Orange Man showed up in January. By August, I had a full-time position with benefits that started day one. And still at that same job. So y'all gonna have to miss me with, you know what I'm saying, the world. I work all kind of financial miracles under the Orange Man. And I started his presidency in debt. So let's be real about it. Plus, he was entertaining as hell because you didn't never know what was coming out of his mouth. Now, I'm just saying from a financial standpoint, we can look and see what Trump did. From a financial standpoint, we can look and see what Joe did. And if you the next person talking about, yeah, we're gonna continue on with what we was doing, because Joe said he was gonna continue with Barack with what Barack was doing. Shit, I was broke under Barack, fucked up under Biden. Like he was true to his word. So yeah, I don't need no more of that. And I'm registered as an independent. I don't need no more of that. I need stability. Because life be life. So I don't want to hear vote for me because I ain't like him. But how are you different? How's your different better? Different ain't always better. But hold up, y'all. We got some breaking news right here. They saying that Thomas Crooks, the one that shot Trump, was on police radar 90 minutes before he even took the first shot. So let's see what's going on with this right here. There's going to be a hearing tomorrow by the Senate, and I'm going to be bringing y'all that live as well.
Here on Live Now for Fox, very, very interesting. We're going to hear more potentially from the FBI in the coming days about this investigation, about a potential task force from Congress to look into some of these details, both from the FBI's perspective and also Secret Service perspective on the ground that day in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I'm pretty sure that won't be televised, but when it comes out, I'll have it. And again, y'all, I'm here to bring you this for informational purposes. So I really hope you guys, you know, take this information and use it to make an informed decision. Because I swear I don't want y'all on my screen boo-hooing and crying on November the 6th. I promise y'all, okay? It's like, let's be for real. They didn't vote for Hillary. You think they're gonna vote for this black looking chick? Caucasian men are not particularly fond of women telling them what the hell to do. Latino men ain't fond of that either. Asian men damn sure ain't having it. So you got all of them voting over here, and then you throw in the majority of black men on top of that. You got Stacey Abrams all over again. What she is shoe in, and the black women were gonna push her over the top, and this and that, and the who? Did she lose twice? It's gonna be that all over again. Now, I will say this: with Kamala now being the nominee, Trump's margin of victory is not gonna be as large, but he's still gonna win. It's gonna be a little bit more interesting, but he's still gonna win. So I don't understand what the confusion is about. This don't make no sense. If somebody qualifies, I'm all for people being qualified. I'm all for that. You showing up to the party qualified, I'm with it. If you're not, you just running on some superficial nonsense, I can't do it. The N word in the quote, Biden said, they brought to your attention the allegation that important legislation in defending the Nunez plan in the basement. We already have a nigga man. Lord have mercy. We don't need any, but okay, true. I ain't sure about what our agent is the VP pick between Trump and Kamala. Is Trump for sure. Listen, and I really don't even know. I'm still trying to familiarize myself with JD Vance. So I don't want to say too much about him one way or the other, but I'm gonna say this right here. Hold on.
Is going to be about election security. Let's take you out right now to Fox's Mike Emanuel with the latest on this.
The presidential election is less than 100 days away, and the intelligence community is ramping up its efforts to make sure folks get to the polls without being influenced by America's adversaries. The director of national intelligence is focused on threats from the big three: Russia, China, and Iran. At this point, it doesn't look like China's making a big effort to influence the election, and Iran is more focused on fueling broader distrust in America's government institutions. But Russia is working overtime, using a broad stable of influencers to hide its hand while creating online content that undermines confidence in both candidates, creating hostility between the two sides.
We have seen a number of Russian.
Didn't y'all have an investigation into this one time before, and both sides found absolutely nothing?
All throughout the region and all throughout the world.
U.S. intelligence agencies are now devoting significant resources toward combating online misinformation being spread by Moscow, highlighting two key tactics: the outsourcing of propaganda to content creators and the use of thousands of fake accounts to make their influence narratives look real. Some lawmakers now calling for greater regulation to help stop those campaigns before the election.
What guardrails can we put to make sure nefarious operations don't intervene and basically screw up the whole system? And that's what we're afraid of.
Officials say they saw a big uptick in those foreign misinformation campaigns following the shooting of former President Trump. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
All right, still a lot to get to with less than 100 days, 99 until this November election. We'll keep you covered here on Live Now from Fox on all of the latest developments. Let's line away for a final 2-minute break of this hour.
All right, cool. Okay, y'all. So again, both sides investigated, both sides found nothing. But what this says to me is, the American people have deteriorated to the point where you can't even think for yourself. Maybe this is why I tend to, be an outlier. It's pitiful. You can't think for yourself, and you seeing a couple of ads on TikTok or damn Facebook is really gonna be the deciding factor in who you vote for versus you doing your own damn research. This is pathetic. Y'all should, I mean, like American people, y'all should really be feeling some type of way and be working overtime to get your life together because this ain't it. This is not it. This shit is stupid. Really. Yeah, this ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it. Again, that's it. That's why I'm here to bring you the information so you can hopefully think for yourself. Because, honey, no. Y'all out here making decisions on how the hell y'all feel, making decisions based on how the hell y'all feel, and all this goofiness. It's good, no. She look like me. What the hell that mean? You gonna walk to the slaughter easier because she look like you? What the fuck does that mean? It doesn't make no sense. You don't make no sense. None at all. What you say? People didn't get to vote Kamala in the they didn't vote right. But then you want to talk about, you know what I'm saying, the democratic process and all this kind of bullshit. I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it. Okay. Yeah, I'm not in the mood. Let's see.
The crowd talking about what they heard and maybe the likelihood of either of these two people being on the ticket. Let's listen into this woman there speaking with Ryan Yanez here from just outside of this rally.
Because they decisions.
I am a childless Catwoman, but I'm happy. I'm happy. Bring laughter on. You know?
Yeah, what is your message to Vance?
You don't mess with childless cat ladies.
Yeah. Have you always been this enthusiastic about politics?
No,
is this
not true.
Since Donald Trump got in,
we absolutely do.
There was whole term because I had to stay ahead, you know, with all the nonsense that he talked. You know, so as long as there's a Trump around, I'm gonna be here fighting for my country. My grandmother would be so proud of me. She told me when I was like 8 years old, when Humphrey and Tate. She said, "You're a Democrat." I didn't know what it was. I thought it was something to eat. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it's been that way ever since.
So when J.D. Vance made his comments about the childless cat, motivated you or maybe ticked off you and some of your friends?
He just talks nonsense with all the stuff that's going on in the world, and he's going to pick on childless cat ladies. I mean, we have wars all over the place. We have climate change. We have fighting for democracy, and he's going to talk about childless cat ladies.
Yeah, he's the fucking vice president. He ain't making no policy nowhere. Ain't nobody gonna be asking him shit. So if he want to talk about the childless cat ladies, let him talk about the fucking childless cat ladies. Just like this bitch we got now supposed to have her ass over at the board to get shit under control, and this bitch been somewhere with her feet propped up with her small hat man. Bitch, shut up. You triggered, and so he talking about me. I don't appreciate that. So now you gonna vote for this bitch, and ain't even gonna be able to afford to feed your damn cat, lady. You better quit playing. This is goofiness. This goofiness. Let me get on over here. This goofiness. These straight up lies y'all got going on around here. Hold on, y'all. She's still talking this devil.
Now we're going on cat ladies. You know what I mean? Like every month, it's a different person category that they attack. It's terrible. We're just trying to live our lives and get by.
So who would you pick?
Bitch, I don't want to get by. I'm trying to get ahead.
I would definitely vote. Hands down. I like Gretchen Whitmer, what she had to say. I think it'll be this Roy Cooper. I don't know much about him, but I don't think in Arizona they'll give up that Senate spot because that Lake lady is nuts, and there's a few others that are really nuts in that area. And we really need North Carolina. So that's what I'm thinking. Personally, I would like Hillary. She's the most educated, ready, but unfortunately, she's a strong woman, and that doesn't go over too well with some people.
Can I get your name again?
Joyce.
Oh, you're just listening in there as Brian is interviewing that woman at the rally there of those two Democratic governors. And of course, she talked about maybe her connection there with Josh Shapiro and also why she decided to kind of wear what she wore to this rally. They made reference to the comments by J.D. Vance in recent years about childless cat ladies and women there out on the campaign trail. So we're following that certainly. 99 days yet until this November election. A lot to get to. Maybe a lot of other conversation, interviews unearthed with all of these candidates as we get to know and America gets to know J.D. Vance and also potentially Vice President Kamala Harris and whoever she picks as her vice presidential candidate as well. Let's take you right now out to who might be one of them. John Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. He was at this rally there. Let's hear what he had to say.
Commemorate the civil rights child.
Hey, everybody! Whoa! Yeah.
Hey!
Montgomery County! Hell yeah, Big Gretch! Big Gretch in the house! You know why they call her Big Gretch in Michigan? Because she gets big things done. That's right. She has fixed the damn roads in Michigan. She has flipped her legislature from red to blue in Michigan. And she has made it a mission to protect reproductive rights for women all across Michigan, and she has succeeded. Big Gretch, she cut taxes for seniors. She created jobs in the auto industry.
I ain't going. All right, y'all. Yeah. We have seen President Biden give his speech for the commemoration of 60 years of Civil Rights Act. We have seen him boo-hoo, whine, complain about decisions that came down from the Supreme Court because he does not like those decisions. He now wants to abolish the Supreme Court. Not gonna happen, but we all know that. I do appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by and watching this with me, just in the chat and subscribing. Make sure that your notification bell is on because tomorrow I will be bringing the Senate hearing into the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. If it's anything like the first two, this is gonna be interesting, y'all. When I tell you, yes, it's gonna be interesting. So y'all definitely make sure you are here for that. Again, I do appreciate you for stopping by, and I will see y'all later.